Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Laura Winnie, and today we're going to talk about rainy day enrichment. Specifically, we're going to focus on dogs, but this can also be stuff that we apply with our other animals as well. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to go over what enrichment is, how we can do some advanced training techniques to curb boredom, things that we can do inside so we don't have to worry about being outside when the weather sucks. Then we're going to talk about all the types of different enrichment that we might see that can help have our animals lead full, happy, healthy lives. So if you have any questions during the webinar, go ahead and type them into the chat box, but please keep yourselves muted for the time being. There will be a section for Q&A at the end, and you're free to unmute yourself right then. But right now we are recording this presentation for those who are unable to join us. So please keep yourselves muted for now. And if you can, also please keep your video off. I'm going to be sharing lots of different fun videos with you guys, and Zoom gets a little irritated if we're all showing our videos at the same time. So as much as I would love to see your happy smiling faces, please keep videos off. Please keep yourselves muted for now until the Q&A at the end. And if you're worried you're going to forget your question, throw it into the chat box. I just won't look at it until the end of the presentation, okay? Wonderful. With that stuff out of the way, let's get going to talking about what enrichment is. So for those of us in the animal world, this is a pretty common thing that we talk about, especially when you go into places that have quote unquote exotic animals, right? So zoos, aquariums, things like that. When you take an animal out of the wild, out of its natural environment, and put it into human care, a lot of stuff in that animal's life is going to be very, very different. So enrichment, boiled down, super simple, is an opportunity for an animal to express natural behaviors. Okay? So when you think about like really bad zoos back in like, the early 1900s and all that, where it was just like concrete boxes, they were not concerned at all about animals expressing those natural behaviors, right? It was just so people could look at them and that was it. But fortunately, zoos have evolved over time to realize that the mental health of the animal is just as, if not more important than the physical health of the animals in their care. That's why when you go to zoos today, you'll see lots of different opportunities for them to explore surfaces and heights, different heights. If you go like into a lion enclosure, you'll see like they have rocks and different things to climb on, different textures, all this stuff that they can explore. And you might also see weird things in there. Like you might see a box and you're like, why does a lion need a box? Well, just for the same reason that we can't sit in a blank room just staring at the wall all day, right? We would get very, very bored and quickly go insane. We often think that our pets have the perfect life, right? They get to sleep on the couch for 8 hours after getting breakfast, and then they get a meal, and then, a human cleans up after their poo and they don't have to worry about anything. Super stress-free life, right? But think about if you had to sit in a room for 8 hours with absolutely nothing to do. Again, you would quickly go out of your mind. So while we think, oh, super relaxing day, my dogs have the life, it's amazing, you know, we wouldn't want that life for ourselves. We might like want it for a day. Okay, but even then, you're probably reading a book, you're doing some sort of craft or hobby activity, you're doing stuff around the house, maybe even binge watching TV. You're doing something that engages your brain. Our animals need the same thing, right? We're all animals. So non-human animals need the exact same thing. They need ways to engage their brain. And just like toddlers with markers, if you do not have opportunities for them to find fun in a safe way, they will find their own fun. So sometimes what we see as an undesirable behavior, maybe your cat is a jerk and keeps knocking stuff off the shelves. That's just possibly them making their own fun. That's how they're entertaining themselves when they don't have anything else to do. So really, when we talk about enrichment, we're talking about ways for animals to use their bodies, use their brains, and really engage with their senses and express those natural behaviors. And when we create enrichment that taps into those, you're really going to have an overall happier animal. So it's very, very important for us to think about this, not just for dogs, but for cats, for rabbits, for guinea pigs, for all of the animals that are in our care. Because when you think about it, if you look at these animals' wild ancestors, right? If you look at lions and cheetahs and tigers, oh my, they're spending a lot of their time hunting. And even if you take a domesticated animal, if you take a dog, for example, and you have them out in nature by themselves, when you have like a feral group of dogs, they're spending up to like 70% of their day looking for food. So dogs, unlike their ancestors, related to wolves, are not hunters. They're more scavengers and foragers, right? They're looking for food. They might go after some small prey, but the majority of their food is going to be what they find. So that's a big part. So if you just pour kibble in a bowl and then that's the extent of what they need to do to find their food, then that leaves a large portion of their day otherwise unoccupied. Okay. So we want to talk more about just physical exercise as well, because physical exercise is definitely very important for all animals, right? Humans and non-human animals. We definitely want to make sure that we're moving our body in appropriate ways, burning those calories, keeping our muscle tone nice and even. That's great. But that doesn't engage our brain. That's why there are TVs in front of treadmills at the gym, right? Because just walking is boring. And since we are visual creatures, we are primates, we are visual creatures, they put a nice big shiny box in front of us that we can stare at while we're doing things. Other animals in our care, though, especially dogs, rely on other senses to engage with the world, primarily scent. So a lot of enrichment toys that you may see, for example, if you go to a pet store and you're in a section and you're like, what the heck is this thing? What is this for? Chances are it's an enrichment toy, and a lot of them depend on the animal using their sense of smell, especially for dogs, to be able to figure it out. So you might have like puzzle boxes or other types of food balls, things like that, that the animal has to manipulate once they've located where the smells are coming from. Okay. Now, a lot of these items you can buy in the store, but you can also make stuff at home. So for example, we've got this nice little foraging box for a rabbit, variety of greens, shoved in some cardboard so they can chew on the cardboard, they can dig and scratch in the cardboard, and they can go and hunt and find their favorite greens out of a variety offered. Just like wild rabbits do out in nature, right? They're going to be looking for particular greens in a sea of green things, right? It's not just wild rabbits go up and like, oh, here is the rabbit buffet. Wonderful. No, they have to go and look for it. So you can provide a variety of safe greens for your pet rabbits to, one, give them that freedom of choice, right? Let them have options, which are always awesome. And two, it gets them working to find the things that they want. So we're going to talk a lot about different things that you can do to help our animals express natural behaviors. But before we dive into some of that, I really do want to focus on the importance of mental exercise. So for this next portion, we're going to talk about ways that we can go beyond what most of us do with our dogs. And of course, we can train cats as well. A lot of this that I'm going to talk about with training also applies for all animals. Okay, especially some of the techniques. Just there's a lot more videos about training dogs than there are other animals on the internet. I did find some cute ones. So want to talk about ways to engage their brain, because when dogs are out there looking for food, when they're foraging, when they're scavenging, they're problem solving, right? If there is something trapped underneath a rock, right? They're digging at the rock. They're moving the rock with the face. They're going at it from different angles. They are figuring out how best to solve this problem, and that is using their brain. So there are lots of ways we can engage our pets mentally, and training is one of them. So going beyond the typical, sit, stay, down, paw that a lot of us typically do with our dog, there's stuff that you can do in several stages over several days. So a great example for this is if you know there's going to be really bad weather for several days in a row. Maybe it's going to be super cold out, maybe it's going to be super wet and you don't want to go out. Maybe you're not feeling great and you don't want to go for a 3-mile hike every single day when it's raining. I don't blame you. I'm right there with you. There's stuff that you can do indoors. And what's great about doing mental exercises with our dogs is it doesn't need to be a giant time commitment either. Just a couple minutes a day is a great goal for doing training. And you can do this throughout the week, okay? Now, we always want to pay attention to our animals' body language because we want training sessions to be fun, because we want our pets to actively engage with us. They don't want us to, pull the treat bag down and they're like, oh no, we're doing training, and they run away. We want it to be fun. Okay. So pay attention to their body language. If you notice that they're getting frustrated, if you notice that you're losing their attention, it might be time to back up a little bit. Give them something that they already know how to do so you can reward quickly and they can feel good about themselves. Nobody likes to fail. All right. That's true of humans. That's true of non-human animals as well. Nobody likes to feel like a failure. And they are also significant empaths. They can sense our emotions. They're really good at reading our body language. So pay attention to your own body language and frustration levels, because if you're starting to feel frustrated, it's probably time to take a break, because you don't want that bleeding into what your pet is reading. And we also want to make sure that when a pet is doing something that we asked, we are giving them an appropriate reward. Okay. For a lot of our animals, that's going to be some form of treat, some type of food. And I hear people say it a lot, like, oh, I have to bribe my animal to do what I want. And my response to that is your employer bribing you when they give you a paycheck? No, it's payment for services rendered, right? You did a thing that was asked of you and you deserve to get the reward for it. Okay. Just, I don't think cold hard cash is going to do much for Fido. So you have to find something that they enjoy. A lot of times that's food. Sometimes it's a toy. Sometimes it's interaction with us. It might be a belly rub, something that they really, really love. That's going to be their payment. And you want to switch it up. Don't always give the same payment every single time. I know I don't get the exact same paycheck that I got 20 years ago. Thank goodness. Okay. So make sure that you're switching it up to keep it interesting for your pet so they don't get bored with the reward system either. So we're going to look at a couple of different videos over the next couple slides that show different styles of training. And I specifically picked some videos that I thought looked really fun that I definitely want to try with my dogs. They look super cute. So we're going to start with something pretty basic called luring. So luring is where you take the treat or the reward, whatever it is, and you put it in front of your animal's face and you lead them to where you want them to go. So let's take a look at how the AKC training squad uses luring to teach the dog how to play dead.
Hi, my name is Jen Michaelis. I'm a certified professional dog trainer, and this is Ringo. Today we're going to show you how to teach your dog to play dead. Some people use the words play dead. Other people cue this trick by saying bang bang or he fainted. Have your treats ready in your pocket or treat bag. Put your dog in a down. You will have already taught this. Hold the treat close to your dog's nose. Say play dead and use the treat as a lure to get her to roll onto her side. As soon as your dog rolls onto her side with her head down, praise her and give her the treat. If you are skilled at using the clicker, you can also click as soon as she is on her side in the play dead position. Repeat these steps a few times until it is clear the dog can play dead. Good boy. Now it is time to fade out the lure. Give the verbal cue, play dead, or bang bang. You can add a hand signal here, such as holding your index finger and thumb like a gun. If you aren't fond of guns, you can add any other hand signal here or change the name of the trick to go to sleep. Once your dog can do the trick reliably, you should add time to the length of time the dog stays in the play dead position. Start by giving the reward after a few seconds, then gradually lengthen the time. Good boy. Bang. Wait. 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 Okay. Good boy.
Okay, so luring is a great way to teach some basic commands that you can use having the animal follow you. Just a side note, these two videos that I'm showing you here, the luring and the shaping video, the skateboard one here, come from the AKC Trick Academy, and you can actually get your dog's trick certified. And they have a whole list of things that you can teach your dog online. They have videos to help guide you through how to do it. Keep in mind that the people leading these videos are professional trainers. So if your little muffin doesn't get it as fast as whatever Ringo was in that previous video, that's perfectly fine. Okay. Again, we're not trying to do this all in one. It may take several sessions over a week to do a new trick like this. And that's perfectly fine, right? Try to keep your training to 5 to 10 minutes a day. And also keep in mind, we do have a wonderful webinar through us, and it's Pet Training 101 that talks more about how dogs can learn and different techniques to help you be a better trainer. So I'd highly recommend you check that out if you're interested in doing some of these more advanced training tricks. Now, shaping is another style of dog training where you're really engaging the pet's brain. And how that works is you're having them problem solve a lot. You're leading them to a thing and then letting them, okay, does this work? Is this what I want? They're troubleshooting, right? What if I do this? And then as they engage with the item, you reward them, and then as they start each step of the process. So we're going to take a look at teaching your dog to skateboard, and I want you to think how many different things are being trained here, because it's not, okay, Fido, jump on the skateboard. It's first, show interest in the skateboard. Next, put a paw on the skateboard. Next, stand on the skateboard. Like, the trick itself is broken up into several steps that the dog learns in an escalation, okay, in order. And sometimes a particular step may take longer than another one, and that's fine. Shaping is definitely more for the advanced trainer. I wouldn't immediately go with your puppy from sit to skateboard, because it takes a lot of the trainer knowing how to break these tricks down to an appropriate level. That's one of the reasons why I like these videos so much, because they give you examples of how to break these tricks down. So let's take a look at this adorable skateboarding dog.
Hi, my name is T. Cavanaro, and this is my trick dog team with Atka the Amazing Esky, Cutie Caillou, and Normal Dog Nuka. Today we're going to teach your dog how to ride a skateboard. Take baby steps with this trick all the way. It helps if your dog knows how to stay and also how to put their paws on things you direct them to.
Come over on this side. Come over here.
Start by just showing your dog the skateboard and rewarding him for coming over to investigate it. Have your dog sit next to the skateboard and reward him when he does. Put your foot either on top of the skateboard or in front of it to prevent it from moving. Ask your dog to put his paw on the skateboard and reward him when he does this. We usually use the verbal cue of up up with pointing to indicate where we want him to put his 2 front paws.
Good boy, yes!
Repeat the previous step, but ask your dog to stay while you remove your foot from the skateboard. Reward him when he stays.
Stay. Good boy, good boy.
Keep on repeating this while you slowly back further and further away from the skateboard.
Good boy. Stay, stay.
Now that your dog is comfortable with being on the skateboard without it moving, tie something to the skateboard that will allow you to slowly pull it along while his 2 front paws are on there. Have your dog stay on the skateboard while you move the skateboard very slowly. Start with a fraction of an inch and reward him for staying on this moving object. Increase the distance you move the skateboard with treats and rewards along the way.
Good boy.
Build up excitement for this trick so that your dog will voluntarily jump up on the skateboard on his own. This momentum will move the skateboard while he stays on there so he can get his reward at the end. Slowly fade out you pulling the skateboard and rely more and more on your dog's own excitement and momentum of getting on the skateboard to move it. Move your starting position of the trick further and further away so that your dog will skate towards you to receive his reward.
Good boy.
Okay, stay, stay. Soon you'll have your own 4-legged skateboarding pup.
Good girl, good girl.
That was an awesome one.
Okay, so that is shaping. And there are a lot of different activities, tricks, things that you can teach your pet to do via shaping. And again, not just dogs, other animals as well. So when I was looking for fun things that we could use, inside advanced training, one of the things I found was carry a basket. Okay. And there are 2 methods. Basically, you teach your dog how to hold something, and you may start with a toy and work on hold and drop. And then eventually you switch out and use the basket. And then maybe you ask them to, take a step, and then you reward them when they take a step, and so on and so forth. And then if you haven't had any experience with teaching your dog hold or drop, you can do shaping. So I do follow a couple different dog accounts on social media, and one I enjoy is Ollie. He is over in England, and it amazed me when I first started watching his videos how great he is at carrying things. He's just so good at it. And I think it's something that they started really early on and encouraged him, and then of course rewarded him when he carried appropriate things. I'm sure there were times when he was carrying inappropriate things or things we'd rather them not carry. So, think about what would be the breakdown, right? Maybe showing interest in the basket. Maybe touching the basket with their nose. Okay. Maybe touching the basket with the nose on the handle specifically. And, every time they move forward in a step, you give them a reward. Okay. And then after they've figured out that first step and they're doing it reliably, you wait, and they're going to figure out, they're going to troubleshoot, like, okay, well, that's not working anymore. How do I get the reward? Oh, maybe they want me to do this instead. And they'll try something different. Okay. And then when they try the right thing, that's when you give them a word. So that's where a lot of that mental exercise comes in. So, once they've touched the handle with the nose, we reward that a couple times. Maybe the next time is they actually have to touch it with their mouth, or they touch the basket with their mouth. And then when they go on the handle, and you can help this process along by putting something that they normally carry, or like having in their mouth, maybe a sock, something like that, on the handle to make it an easier transition for them. But there are lots of different ways that shaping can be broken down. It can be a very individualized process depending on the skill level of the dog and the trainer and you. Okay. So I don't want you to get discouraged if you try to follow one of those videos and it doesn't work right away, because again, it's a process. Okay. And that's okay. We're not going to watch this full video of this dog carrying a pumpkin around in a basket, but it is super cute. And I just want to show it to you real quick because
I took my dog to a
Hilarious.
pumpkin patch, and he got emotionally attached to a pumpkin. I didn't think he would care after that, but no, we got home. As soon as I took the pumpkins out, he just walked off to his bed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I disturb you? Are you having some alone time with your special pumpkin?
He was attached to the pumpkin. It came everywhere with him. He took this pumpkin on walks. He was so pleased with himself just carrying the pumpkin around. Everywhere Ollie went, that pumpkin went as well. He would take the pumpkin to bed with him, and about 2 days later, the stalk came off. I was a good dog mom. I found this basket that was, just by chance, the perfect size for the pumpkin. He carried that thing and he did not want to let go.
Okay, like I said, we're not going to watch the full video. Spoiler alert, the pumpkin starts to go bad, and she does find a plush pumpkin to replace the actual pumpkin with, and Ollie takes it, and it's adorable. So I do encourage you to follow up on the full video because it's really, really cute. But like I said, there's lots of different ways that you can break down shaping for various tasks. This is a lot what we use to train service dogs when they are helping out humans with everyday tasks. Like, you don't start out by having a puppy go to the fridge, open the fridge, and get a bottle of water. Okay, you break those steps down and train each individual step to lead up to the finished product. Another thing that we can look at for training that is really, really helpful on our end is something called cooperative care training. And you do see this a lot in zoos, especially with larger animals where you can't just like run into the cage right with them and do a full-on physical examination. But there are definitely some things that we can take from that zoo background and utilize with us. So carrier training. This is especially great for cat people out there. How many times have you taken the carrier out to take the cat to the vet, and all of a sudden you have a kitten-shaped hole in the wall because they saw the carrier and they're like, oh, nope. So training the cat to go into the carrier and seeing the carrier as an enjoyable thing can be very important. And then using the carrier to not just take the cat to bad places or scary places is going to be essential to that, because they're not dumb. They're going to figure that out. So using the carrier to maybe just go to another room where we have a bunch of treats or fun toys or something like that can be very, very important. But lying on their side so that we can see their sides, their bellies, being able to touch their feet, looking into their mouths, rewarding them for when we're doing that. It's not something that we just want to full on start out, right? You wouldn't go up to a stranger on the street and stick your fingers in their mouth. You work up to that, and you can reward them for keeping calm and handling that okay. The bucket game is very, very fun because it's a way to put your pet's focus on something else if you need to do something medically. So the idea is that you have a bucket, and it might have treats in it, it might, not, whatever. And when your pet is looking at the bucket, they get the treats. And then as they're looking at the bucket and getting treats, maybe you're touching a paw. That's it. You're just touching the paw and you're still giving treats. If they stop looking at the bucket and they look at you, they react to you, treats stop. Okay? We reward when they focus on the bucket. That way, they start to associate that bucket with really good things. And eventually, you're going to get to the point where they don't care what's going on around them. That bucket means treats. That bucket is the magical pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's amazing. So that is one way to incorporate foot handling, eye and ear exams, all that stuff that they're, oh, like, what are you doing to me? They shy away from for a good reason, right? I mean, you're doing weird things to get them comfortable with that. And because I do come from a zoo background, I just love to show different videos of cooperative care. So, for example, elephants obviously are putting a lot of weight on their feet. So it's very important for the human caring for them to be able to examine those feet and care for them. So you'll notice the elephant in this video, this is at the St. Louis Zoo, is 100% volunteering to be part of this, right? They don't hold on to the foot at any point. I think they're using a giant file, which is amazing. The elephant can walk away at any point. And that is what's key with cooperative care, is you make it completely voluntary for your animals. So I do just like to show this and how amazingly it can be, because man, I don't even like that being done on me. So the fact that an elephant is doing it is amazing. Okay, so occupational enrichment really focuses on what we were talking about at the beginning when we talk about what is a pet's job. Some dogs have been specifically bred over generations, and I'm talking hundreds, thousands of years, to be able to do certain things for their human people. For example, huskies pulling sleds, Cairn terriers hunting for rats, things like that. They've been specifically bred for a purpose. So hunting dogs, working dogs, all sorts of things. And now we've taken these dogs with these huge genetic predispositions to do the thing, and we're asking them never to do it. You know, there are definitely huskies in the Chicagoland area that are trained and will pull sleds, but there's a lot that aren't. And that energy needs to go somewhere. Okay, I'm not saying go out and sled train all your huskies. Absolutely not. That would be insane. I'm saying that they were genetically bred for specific traits, and one of them is that high energy. So those yayas need to get out somehow, and you need to find ways to do that. Mental enrichment is great. And then also really digging deep into that, you know, out in the wild, animals work for food. We work for our food. Not only do we have to cook it, buy it, all that, but we work to get money to buy the food. So we need to give our pets the same opportunity. Puzzle toys, we've talked about those before. I have an extensive webinar on DIY enrichment on where you can figure out all sorts of different puzzles that work. So you might want to purchase something with compartments like this one here in the picture. So there's little drawers, you need to turn the bones a specific way, and they're manipulating it. It can be something as simple as a slow feeder. So a bowl that has a pattern on the inside so that they have to maneuver the kibble out. So it just slows them down a little bit. But it also, they have to figure out, like, how do I get the kibble out of there, right? Or it could be a treat ball with some holes in it. And you fill that up and they bat it around and the treats fall out. Rabbits and cats really love those as well. So those are super fun for those. So you can also make them yourself. So for example, we have a slow feeder just made out of the muffin tin turned upside down. Okay. And they're having to figure out, how do I get the kibble out from between the cups here? You can really dig deep into foraging, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I want to say absolutely, if you do not have a muffin tin specifically for your pets, oh, it's a godsend. There's just so much you can do with it. So at the shelter, we love to do a little puzzle box here. So we have the muffin tin. It has treats inside the cups, and then we put stuff on top to cover up those treats, and they have to figure out how to get the balls out of the way to get it. So they might use their feet, they might use their nose. One particularly fun dog just flipped the whole box over. That was super fun to watch because problem solved right there. Super smarty pants. So lots of different things you can do. You don't even necessarily need to start with the muffin tin, right? You can just have the box with the balls that they have to move around to get to the kibbles and the treats down at the bottom. And, you know, start easy with stuff. You know, don't start at an advanced level, start with just the food in the muffin tin so that they start to associate that muffin tin or the box with the food. And then maybe you put something small on top so that they can see it, they can definitely smell it, and it's easier for them to manipulate before putting something large on top. And you can make a lot of easy food puzzles at home just using recyclables. And like I said, not just for dogs. So here we've got a rabbit. I believe this was from last year, who we did just a little pellet here in the egg carton and figured out how to open the egg carton. The rabbit could have also ripped it open with its teeth. It's basically a fun game of hide and seek for that. And you can also use scatter feeding. You can use snuffle mats, anything that has, layers to it to keep has the pet using their nose to find it. Sniffing in itself relieves anxiety for our pets. So being able to use their nose is going to really give them a lot out of this activity. And, again, nature just doesn't hand you food on a plate. You really do have to forage for it. So here we've just got a bunch of strips of fabric in a bin and the kibble is interspersed, okay? What's great about activities like this is, absolutely monitor, but it's self-rewarding. As soon as they find the treat, that's the reward. So you can also build up the challenge. So in this particular one, you might start with just a couple pieces of fabric. Then you do more fabric. With this little guy, looks like they also added some closed paper tubes with treats inside. So not only does he have to get through the fabric, but he's also got to rip open those paper tubes as well. So let's take a look at scatter feeding, because this isn't something that we always think about. We see on TV and in movies, dogs eat from bowls, right? There are whole aisles in the pet store. But that's because pet stores like to sell things to make money, not necessarily because it's the best thing for your pet. So scatter feeding is literally you feed after scattering their food. So you can do this indoors, you can do this out of doors. So this particular person timed how long it took their pets to eat from a bowl. And I am shocked that it lasted 4.5 minutes. I have beagles. It takes about 30 seconds in my home for food to be done when it's served in a bowl. As opposed to scatter feeding, where he's literally taking the kibble and just flinging it in the grass. And again, start small. So you might start with a particular area where, it's more confined for your pet to start. Also know your pets. If you have multiple pets and there's the potential for resource guarding or getting a little jealous over food, then I would do this separately. I like to scatter feed my one dog, Quincy, out in the yard. He will spend 20 minutes hunting for his kibble. Again, it takes him like 30 seconds to eat it from a bowl. He'll spend 20 minutes searching for kibble. And my other dog prefers more of a food puzzle. He gets distracted by the outdoors. He doesn't always focus on his food. So we do food puzzles inside. That way I know everybody's safe. They're both doing something that they really enjoy, and it's taking up that mental energy. So we're already at 7.5 minutes. The pups are still going strong. Again, they're using their noses. This is how dogs engage the world, is through their sense of smell. So they are hunting for those tiny pieces of kibble, looking for that food. And just keeping going, we're at 14 minutes. And I believe, we're not going to wait till the end, but I believe the last count was 32 minutes for these dogs to finally then be like, all right, we got them all, we're done, we're good. So amazing, from 4 minutes to 32 minutes. And they're going to be exhausted by the end of that. Again, mentally engaging with something can be just, if not more exhausting than physically. Think about when you were in school and you were studying and took a giant test, how tired you were after that giant test. It's because working your brain can be just as tiring as working your body. Now, hide and seek and using nose work inside can be super fun as well. And it doesn't have to necessarily just be, oh, I threw the kibble, go find it. You can actually make it more intense than that with actual hide and seek. So we'll spend a little bit of time checking out this hide and seek game.
Hey guys, welcome back. So I've got a really quick video for you here. I actually shot this a couple months back with Wrigley and actually just completely forgot that I had this footage. So wanted to get this out to you guys because it's a really good game to play. It's a little hide and seek game that I play with Wrigley around the house. It's super simple, takes a little bit to work up to so your dog gets the concept of it, but a lot of dogs really enjoy this and have a lot of fun with it. And I have a lot of fun watching Wrigley play this game. So I incorporate that go to place behavior. So Wrigley hangs out on her bed, kind of in a downstay. The go to place video I did film previous to this. You guys can go check it out to get that behavior with your dog. But I have her stay in one location. And while she's doing that, I go to hide the treat. Initially, I'm hiding it in very obvious places to her, things like that first one that she could clearly see where I put the treat, and then I'm slowly starting to hide it in more obscure type places that she has to use her nose really to sniff that treat out. So here she's really working for it. I have the volume muted on this because I had the stereo on in the background, but if you guys can hear this, her sniffer is going. She absolutely gets the concept of this game. She knows that there are treats that are hidden and she's supposed to find them. And because she's a dog, the most efficient way to do that is by using her nose. So this is a really good one here in the bathroom. I hid it over by the vanity there on the rug, and it kind of took her a minute to seek it out, but she eventually got it. So you guys are seeing me kind of progress very quickly with the difficulty level with this, and I usually make them hard finds for her, but for the purpose of this video I made it a little easier to show you guys the progression of it. Okay, forgot to mention this earlier. The cue that I'm using is go find it. Wrigley's release cue from her go to place behavior is all done, and the search cue that I use is go find it. So when she's on her bed, I'll cue all done, go find it when I'm ready for her to get off her bed and actually go find the food. A word like search is also a really common one, but Wrigley knows find it means find food on the ground already, so it's just an easy one to go with. But something else I want to mention too is you don't want to make it so hard for your dog that they get lost and stuck and frustrated. That's not the point of this game. So standing in the area that you hide the food is a really good place to start with this. I'm standing in the same location and room that I placed the food, and there she kind of stopped and looked at me, and that's kind of an indication to me that she needs some help and she wants some help. So I'm gonna help her out. This is not something I want her to be frustrated over. Again, it's supposed to be just a lot of fun. So just a little tip there when you're working with your dogs, don't let them get frustrated, help them out when they need it.
Okay, so as you can see, it can be super, super easy to just start off with some treats, make it fun, and pay attention to them. Keep engaged with them. You can even advance from going specifically from treat to a specific smell. So maybe a lavender dipped cotton ball, something like that. Then becomes the trade out. So they're no longer looking specifically for the treat, but they're looking for the lavender scent. Okay, so that's nose work and detection. There's lots of videos and tutorials online that you can go into. Sniffy walks. Basically letting them smell what they want for as long as they want on a walk. We're primates. We're all about the movement. We're all about visually seeing and exploring our world. But that's not how a dog explores the world. So letting them sniff is going to be a great way to engage their brains. They can get so much from a single blade of grass, so much information. And sometimes we cheat them of that. We cheat them of that information gathering when we're so focused on movement and physical exercise. Exploration containers are also great if you're out and about and you encounter something different. Maybe there's some feathers on the ground. You can put that in a container and let your dog smell it. So even if it's not a place where they can actually physically go, they can still explore those smells. If you have friends with different pets, maybe you can borrow a little bit of fur, feathers, whatever. When I fostered animals for the shelter, I would take the bedding from the rabbits, and before I washed it, I would let my dogs just sniff it up, right? They are very prey driven, so they were never in the same building as the rabbits, but the blankets were perfectly safe for them to explore, and they loved it. You can also engage their sense of hearing by playing music to drown things out. If to help them calm down during the day. It's not something that we recommend having on all of the time, because then that just becomes additional background noise that we're not paying attention to, but it can help as well for specifically when you're looking for some calm down time. Giving visual access to the outside windows, as long as your dogs aren't going to become super frustrated at being able to see things. Being able to see outdoors can be very stimulating and mentally engaging for them as well, and especially for cats. Cats love to have a good window to explore, or even a catio, right, where they can safely be like on a screened-in porch or something, where they're not going to have access to the outdoors, but they can see, they can smell all of that from the safety of that screened-in porch. And please keep in mind that literally anything can be a toy, and the pet is going to determine what is super engaging. So for some pets, foraging within a puzzle box to get the treats, that's going to be the engaging part. For some pets, sheer destruction is the fun part here. So you might have dogs that you buy a $7 plush squeaker toy and they rip it to shreds within seconds. Well, instead of spending all that money on something that's destroyed, maybe save some recyclables for them to have fun with instead. A little bit more budget friendly. Lastly, I do want to spend a little bit of time here at the end talking about nutritional enrichment, because I always like to make fun of my father, because when my father was growing up, he had the exact same lunch every single day between 1st and 5th grade. He had a peanut butter sandwich and potato chips every single day. Most of us are not my father, and that would get absolutely awful. Okay, we like variety. We don't, there's a reason there's no human kibble. Okay, we like variety. We like different textures, smells, ingredients, flavors. Some of us really like sour or bitter or spicy, all these different things. Our pets have favorites as well. And if we insist on the convenience factor of just being stuck in that rut, giving them the exact same thing over and over and over again, just because it's easy for us does not mean that it is best for them. So there are lots of different ways that we can switch up their nutritional enrichment. Now, of course, if you've noticed that your pet is having problems eating, or they're not interested in their food, always make sure that there's not a medical condition going on first. Always check in with your vet, okay? There might be a dental thing going on where it's hard for them to chew. They may just feel lousy and not want to eat. They may be stressed out and not feel comfortable eating. So we do want to make sure that we check in with our vet for any of those medical signs if something comes on suddenly. I have 2 dogs. One is super food motivated. He will eat anything at any time in any delivery system. My other dog, Cooper, he's a little bit more particular. He gets tired of his kibble from time to time, and he wants a little bit more variety. I've noticed that when I switch up the delivery system, I don't even necessarily need to switch out too many ingredients of what he's eating, but switching up the delivery system keeps it interesting for him. So, and always, always, always double check that the food you are offering is safe and healthy for your pets, especially if they have any chronic conditions to be concerned about. Check with your vet and check Google sparingly. Make sure that you are using reliable sources that are backed by research. Joe Schmo on the internet can post whatever he wants. That doesn't necessarily make it true. So I always try to check across several different sites to verify that different things I'm feeding my pet are going to be healthy and safe for them. Now, as I mentioned, even with just snacks, we can switch up the delivery system. I Ice cube trays are great ways to do it. You can just freeze kibble in water. Some pets really like the crunch of just ice cubes. And then if you put a little fun treat in them, that's a nice little bonus. Or you could try, some watered down chicken broth, something to give it a little bit more flavor. Or even, like frozen plain yogurt, things like that. Kongs are those hollow rubber toys that you can stuff. And a lot of people just keep it simple with, putting some kibble in it and putting peanut butter in it. There are so many options out there. You can use, like I said, you can use yogurt, you can use different types of fillers, you can use canned food, all these things. And then to up the challenge of it, you can freeze it. So it takes them even longer to manipulate and get to that food. Licky mats are fabulous. So again, peanut butter is a good standard, but you can also do, some of that squeeze cheese, not too much, in moderation, right? We don't want to spike the calories too much. And again, we can switch up the flavors, and we can switch up if it's frozen, that's going to take a little bit longer. You can make out little patterns. You can try different textures on those licky mats, because licking in itself can relieve stress. So for example, my pets love to hunt the laser pointer in the backyard. In the evening, it's one of their favorite things, and they start to get super antsy because they know it's dark and they know that it's almost time to do that. But when it's raining or when it's snowing, it's not safe for them to do that outside. So a lot of times we'll switch up and do a licky mat, because that's something that will help, one, relieve that anxiety of, okay, I didn't get to do what I wanted, but this is nice. Or we might do a long-lasting chew, something like a bully stick that is going to occupy their brain and be nice and tasty. It's not something that we offer every day necessarily. And we do pay attention to those calories, right? If I know oh gosh, it's raining today, can't do licky mat, I'm going to cut back on their dinner a little bit so that they're not getting overloaded with calories. And then, how do you figure out what the pets like? How do you figure out what is rewarding for them? Well, you can test it out. So I did one of these myself, a little bit of taste testing. And again, keep in mind the personality, pets, right? So if you have any resource guarding or jealousy issues amongst your pets, I wouldn't recommend doing this right next to each other, because probably there's gonna be some thievery, okay? And you gotta make sure that the pets are gonna be okay with that. That we want everybody to say they likes it. But you can see one pet really loves the watermelon, one not so much. Not a fan. This would be Quincy and Cooper here. This was Quincy.
Hey, you two, come here.
Everything that I gave him, and Cooper was like, this isn't food. So keeping in mind that fruits and a lot of vegetables do have high sugar content, so pay attention to the calorie needs of our pets as well.
Tucker, sit. Good job.
So I think we can obviously see what Tucker's favorite is there. So lots of different fun things that you can try with your pets. And even if it's not something that they're interested in, if they're not interested in eating, it's still the smelling and the exploring of new foods is engaging. Again, making sure that it's safe and you don't mind having soggy broccoli on your floor. Thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Appreciate you guys. Before we get to the question section, we do have some upcoming webinars. Wanted to let you know about. No Kitten Around, Surviving Feline Adolescence is going to come up in just a couple of weeks, starting out our October webinars. Then we're going to talk about our feathered friends, our wild feathered friends. So how we can make sure that we are doing what we can to care and protect for Chicagoland's native birds. And then starting out with our holiday season in November, you may be looking for pet professionals, whether for groomers, trainers, veterinarians, even a place for your pet to go during the holidays, maybe if you're out of town. So how can we find and pick from all of those results on Google what is going to be the best professionals for us? So I hope to see you guys at some of those webinars in the future. Now, if at any point you have questions, please reach out to us at DuPage County Animal Services. We are very big on happy, healthy homes for all pets in DuPage County and beyond. We don't judge, right? We don't discriminate. We want pets and their owners to be living harmoniously. So if you have a question, if you need to troubleshoot something, if you need guidance on where to go, reach out to us. You can reach me directly at humane.education@dupageco.org, or you can call the shelter during our open business hours at 630-407-2800. I'm going to hang out here for a little bit longer, folks. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. So thank you so much. Have a great night.